Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I reconvene the Menifee City Council meeting of August 18th, is it?
19th.
And we have, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Councilmember August. Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Denver. Here. Mayor Mann.
Here.
Thank you.
We have words of inspiration tonight from Pastor Tim Thompson of Vania Church. And correct me or if I'm wrong, but Vania in Greek means grace, does it not?
In Latin, yes.
Yeah, in Latin.
Yes.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, thank you. Bow your heads with me, if you would, please. Father in heaven, we are thankful for the day you've given us here. We're thankful for the men and women that are here to lead us tonight, and I pray that you would bless each and every one of them with wisdom and vision for this city. And Lord, I just want to pray a special prayer right now for the men and women and children of the city of Menifee. Lord, that we would have our eyes fixed on you, that we would be a city that is known for loving people and putting the needs of other people before our own, that we would not be selfish, but that we would have a heart to reach out and to love everyone we come in contact with. And we pray these things today, and I pray them in the name of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you,
Thank
Tim.
you.
Councilmember August, would you lead some pledge?
Yes, please all join me in your pledge of allegiance to our flag. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, one and all. Madam Clerk, do we have any modifications to the agenda tonight?
No, sir, as posted.
Thank you. We have no presentations. Would you please proceed with public comment?
Thank you, Your Honor. Chuck Reuter.
I got to write that thing down now before I come up and speak. Otherwise, I'll forget them. Honorable Mayor, City Council, City staff, fellow citizens. Last time I came here, I mentioned how important it is for people to attend these meetings and keep an eye on the government. It doesn't mean that they should come back and complain. So today, I'm going to give you some sugar. Here goes. On Cherry Hill Boulevard, very close to Bradley Road, I go that way, go into the shopping center, and there was this hole in the road. I didn't say anything, but just starting out. I got to tell you, that thing got fixed. You guys did a good job fixing that hole over there by the bus stop on Cherry Hill Boulevard. The other thing is this. You mentioned in the agenda, you're going to be talking about a homeless shelter in the future. That made me feel pretty good, but it shows that you got some compassion up here. And then, to top it off, you came out with a homeless pocket guide, that little red thing you came out with in case you have a problem. You know, you can look at that and figure out what you got to do to help somebody who is homeless. And finally, Mayor Mann. He wrote a commentary that was published in the Press Enterprise, and I couldn't agree more. We got to light that fire under Jerry Brown and get that money back. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck, very much for your comments, and thank you all for taking care of those items. Next speaker, please.
Katie Manier.
Good evening. Tonight I have a different concern. I was here a couple weeks ago and there was a gentleman here spoke about his autistic son being attacked at the skate park, sent to the hospital. Recently, a friend of my grandson's was also attacked. 4 girls jumped her, gave her a concussion, broke her nose, blacked both her eyes, had her on the ground, kicking her in the head. There was not a police report filed on it. I don't know what the deal is with our police and what causes them to file reports, but there should have been a report filed, and there was no action taken against the girl, although we knew the girl, knew her name, didn't know all 4 girls' names, but knew at least one of them or 2. Nothing was done, and there's no police report. I don't know if the police department is trying to keep the crime rate down, and that's a good way to do it. No reports, no crime. There was no report filed when a threat was made against me. So all I can think is that they just don't want the crime rate to show. And I'm wondering if there was a crime report filed against the young man in the skate park. And I'm sure those aren't the only incidences of crime that aren't reported. And it's a real concern. This girl was in the hospital overnight. She had 2 black eyes for weeks on end. Couldn't apply for work because you can't go looking for work if you're bruised up and look like you've been in a bar brawl or whatever. Anyway, I just find that interesting that there was no police report filed on either of those incidences. Thank you.
Did that happen at the skate park as well, that
It
incident?
did not happen at the skate park, but it did happen in the city.
Could you please share with Gina Gonzalez the details? Because an assault like that, I would think that there would be something being filed. So could you share that information and
I will share as
law
much as I
enforcement?
know. I honestly
Yeah.
don't know
And
exact
we'll look
location.
and we'll look
but-
into that.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next speaker, please.
Rick Croy.
Evening, Council.
Evening.
Glad to see you all again. Been a while.
2 weeks.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring up the fact that we need to expedite that traffic light at Garbani and Antelope. Friday night, I'm going to get a slice of pizza, and I'm coming up westbound on Garbani, and I see a couple of cars. It's a single lane, and what happens there is as people come up to that intersection, people just try to slide by on the right to make that right turn, and boom, crash, heartache, another really bad accident right there. So I remember last year there was some language about maybe having that done by May, but we need to get on that one because it's a bad one, and it's just not getting any better. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I can provide a brief update. It is under design. It's been under design for a while. There's some issues regarding right-of-way acquisition that we're working with. So I believe we received a draft of the final design, and that's under review right now. It should be out to bid soon. Typically, those biddings will take 45 to 60 days, get a contractor on board, they start gearing up. We're looking at probably January or so. That's my guess right now on when that would start.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Croy. Next speaker, please.
Dennis Santiago.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I just start off by saying thank you for bringing many different businesses to Menifee, so I don't have to drive to Temecula any longer. But the comment I have is I feel that the city could benefit from starting to grow from just being primarily a service-based businesses to maybe a manufacturing industry. I feel that we have good access to the freeways, plenty of land space where we could build. I'd like to see more citizens employed and maybe even possibly have a career here within Menifee. And also, I just have kind of a question / comment regarding Heritage and Paloma High Schools. Is there any intent or future vision of bringing them into the Menifee School District, or are we going to leave them in the hands of the Paris School District? I have 3 daughters. I have a 4th child on the way. They're 11 and under, and I'm just curious as to what our intent is when they start hitting the high school years. So any information you could provide, I would appreciate it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Santiago. We share your vision for jobs and industry. Our general plan actually has, stop me, Mr. Attorney, if I go too far on my brief response. We have a land use map and zoning in our city for those types of things, light industrial area, and our economic development team is working with stakeholders to recognize those types of businesses and bring them in. Mr. Denver, would you like to speak to the unification issue, since you're a 17-year school board member of the Paris High School District?
Check with the school districts. That's who really makes the decisions. We have very, very, very little to do with the schools. But Paloma Valley High School is likely someday to be in Menifee School District. Heritage High School likely is not. it'll be more likely into Paris. Well, there's an argument to be made there exactly, but talk to the school district.
And if I may expound on that, the unification plan right now includes Paloma Valley High School into the Menifee Union School District, which would become a unified district, and a high school number 4, yet to be named, which is just east of the city border. That high school number 4 will also be part of the new Menifee Unified School District. But there are criteria that the California Department of Education imposes upon school districts for unification, and the two districts have not met all of those yet. Once those are met, it'll happen. It may not happen by the time your daughters get into high school, but it's close. So that's where we're at. And I agree with Mr. Denver to consult with the local superintendents and see where they're at with that process. Next speaker, please.
Jeremy Hutman.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, city staff, members of the public. My name is Jeremy Hutman, and I'm with the California First Property Assessed Clean Energy, or PACE, financing program. We provide financing for homes and businesses to invest in measures like renewable energy, energy efficiency, and water efficiency measures. We're very similar to a program that's already available in the city of Menifee called the HERO program. But instead of being sponsored by the Western Riverside Council of Governments like the HERO program is, California First is sponsored by the League of California Cities and the State Association of Counties. We are currently available in over 300 communities throughout the state in 37 counties, and we are very interested in offering our program to property owners in the city of Menifee. We've helped thousands of property owners around the state reduce their energy bills, and we've led a very successful program. Now, there's a trend in the state regarding PACE financing where about 80% of the state now has a PACE program. And most of those cities that now have a PACE program are opting into multiple programs. And the reason for that is to create options for property owners and local competition. What that does is it forces PACE providers to improve their services for the local property owners and also reduce interest rates. Now, California First is slightly different than HERO in that we do focus on residential property owners, but we also really have a focus on businesses, on small and medium businesses in particular. They've historically had a really tough time accessing financing that helps them reduce their energy bills by investing in renewable energy and energy efficiency. We provide a really good service for small and medium businesses, and we're really interested in making our service available to them. Now, California First is, because it is sponsored by the League of California Cities, the city of Menifee is already a member of the League of California Cities, so the opt-in process is just passing a resolution to join the program, and then we would be immediately available. There is no cost to the city to participate, and we're very interested in continuing the conversation and providing additional resources or additional information on the program to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir, very much. Madam Clerk?
Jerry Willenbring.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Jerry Willenbring. I'm a resident Menifee and homeowner. I'm also the Inland Empire area representative for a solar energy company called DMI Construction and Solar. And as a solar energy consultant, I speak all the time with particularly homeowners about solar energy projects, sometimes small businesses also. And in my experience, that once a homeowner is convinced that solar energy can help save them money, which in most cases it can, and they're convinced that the technology is appropriate for them, the next thing, of course, they're concerned about is financing. And in my company, the service I provide to my customers is to give them as many options for financing as I possibly can. And that includes leasing and purchasing programs and PACE programs such as HERO and California First. So having competitors who can provide that financing, I think, would be very beneficial to the city of Menifee. So thank you. And by the way, Mr. Mayor, I want to apologize that I did not recognize you when I first saw you.
That's okay. That's all right. I know who you are. Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
That is all your speakers, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your comments. On to council member updates and comments. Gentlemen, anything to report out? Mr. Leesmeyer.
Yeah. On August the 8th, I attended the Riverside County Sheriff's National Night Out in conjunction with the City of Paris. We received an award. Well, I guess it's a sponsorship award. It's really a good event to go out and meet the officers out there, get to see all their fun toys they play with every day. And actually, I think we got to throw some balls at the captain. He got to go into the dunk tank and got to go for a swim a few times, which was pretty fun. But I wanted to thank the officers for that, and so I'll give the award over to Mr. Johnson. Also, I wanted to give a special thanks to Deputy Beeman and Deputy Polito out in Quail Valley, who served a couple of warrants out there for marijuana plants. They seized 650 plants with an estimated street value of over $1 million, and got one guy in custody. So much thanks to those deputies out there for doing what they do, putting their life on the line, and that's all I got.
Yeah, well done to the team out there in Quail Valley. Thank you, Mr. Leesmeyer. Any other reports? I have none. Since the county was dark in August, I have no regional report to make. Moving on to approval of the minutes. Are there any modifications to the minutes tonight? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. On to the consent calendar. I'll entertain a motion for the consent calendar. Is there a motion on the consent calendar?
Sorry. Motion to approve.
We have a motion for Mr. Leesmeyer. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Denver. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember August. Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Denver. Mayor Mann.
Aye.
Thank you.
We have no public hearing items tonight. On to discussion items 12.1. Approve a 5-year park capital improvement program and approve new expenditures appropriations to complete FY 2015 and 16 projects. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is a fun, exciting night for us, actually. The Community Services Department and Robert Lennox has been doing a lot of work to get our parks up to where they need to be, identifying some areas of improvement. I'm going to turn the balance of the item 12.1 over to Mr. Lennox.
Thank you, City Manager Johnson, and good evening, Mayor, City Council. As City Manager was mentioning, there has been a lot of work that's gone into doing an inventory of park conditions, identifying deferred maintenance, repair items that are long overdue. And to give you a little bit of background, I'll even preface this with what we know has occurred in the past. Prior to city incorporation, many of the park sites that are currently owned by the city were at one time the county and county property. And so those were built long before incorporation and currently are showing signs of that age. And so a lot of what you see tonight or see within this item are an attempt to address and update some of those conditions. So as you'll recall, in 2013, the City Council did establish the city's first Community Services Department. And since then, in particular last year, the small staff of 3 had been busy doing assessment of all of those parks and the right-of-way landscaping areas that were in need of attention. Luckily, though, last year, at the end of last year in April, we were able to get established the park and landscape design standards, and what that did was set a very basic level of maintenance and conditions, not only for new developments but also for ongoing maintenance of existing facilities, both public and private facilities. And so that was the baseline for us to use when we were examining and evaluating our own facilities. In addition, in June, Council did approve the hiring of all the new community services staff, and that did incorporate maintenance staff that have, in the last month, really helped us to solidify the inventory that we worked on. And so I'll highlight one person in particular, Mark Cooper, who was formerly an employee of the county EDA, who was responsible for many years in maintaining the parks here in the city of Menifee, even before it was the city, came with a lot of institutional knowledge, and it helped us refine what those improvements should be. And so in the last month when the council was dark, we really focused our efforts in finalizing the list, which is in your report this evening. And so the final report includes really a 5-year funding plan And essentially, it looks like it's front-loaded because it is. We know that many of the improvements need to be handled now. So in 15, 16, 17, 18, and 18, 19, you see it sort of taper off. That's actually very normal. Most cities do that because on a yearly basis, they will revisit their 5-year CIP plan and update it with new needs, new issues, and also reflect new funding sources. New funding sources typically come in the form of grant opportunities. We do have a handful of grant opportunities that we are targeting, including several grant programs that are at the state level, state park and rec, through the Office on Grants and Legislative, the acronym's escaping me. They have grants through Land, Water, and Conservation Fund, Habitat Conservation Fund, trails, the list goes on. Those are all on our horizon, and we'll be progressively going after those and then trying to offset some of our project costs moving forward. And so the list of projects actually was presented to the Parks and Rec Commission at its last meeting to concur on staff's recommendations for which projects should be targeted in the next year, and the funding sources for those projects. What you see on the screen here is just the fund balances for what we typically have used to do these improvements, at least in 2014-15. These are undesignated fund balances. I'll say the one caveat about these is that we would not want to necessarily exhaust all of these, because certainly we want them to build interest and maintain a healthy reserve. Because sometimes things happen. You have weather events and other situations that you don't anticipate, and it's good to have that reserve just in case. So I know it's going to be difficult to read all this. This is actually in your staff report. It's the list of all the projects. In total, there is about 31 projects. You see that the project numbers start at CS004. That's because in 2014-15 we did actually accomplish a handful of projects, including the Case and Aceros interior and exterior improvements, Cherry Hills Boulevard Area 3, I believe it was, median landscaping projects, and a couple others. So it starts after that, and for 15-16 you can see the list begins. It's a couple pages, and I won't go through each one of these because certainly know that you may have questions on any one of them. However, the list is extensive, and in total, over the full 5-year plan, it's estimated about $30 million to do everything. Now, obviously, we don't have all those funds to date, but within the first year, we are looking at just over $1 million to do improvements within our parks in 15-16. What I've done on this slide is given you a snapshot of what we believe are the most high priority projects for this upcoming year. And so, all of these are either health and safety items or things that we had already committed to going into during the previous year going into this year. Again, some of them are even funded through CDBG funds, which were approved, recommended for approval by the MCAC and then seconded when that item came before the council, I believe just before our July break. So with that said, there's some recommended actions. One is to approve the 5-year plan. The second is to approve about $712,800 in new expenditure appropriations from the various undesignated fund balances to complete the 15-16 CIP projects. As you can see here, that $712,800 is not the full $1 million because the other balance of that is already within our operating budget for the current fiscal year. These are just requests for appropriations to add them to our operating budget for this year. With that, I conclude my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lennox. Mr. Johnson?
Just one caveat, Mr. Mayor and members of council, this is non-general fund budget.
Restricted dollars.
Correct.
So, are there any questions of council? Mr. Leesmeyer?
Briefly, just you only have right here these 5 items. This is only for fiscal year 15-16. That's not to say that between now and 2020 there couldn't be something more that we want to add in there later.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's all I got.
Well, and to add on to that question, that was Mr. Johnson.
Sorry, that's a loaded question. It's a 5-year CIP, so we're really asking you to approve the 5-year Parks Capital Improvement Program, and then those interchangeable parts after every year will bring back and starts another 5-year program. So exactly what you just said, it's a program that you're approving, and then every year you'll make expenditures based on that fiscal year.
So this is flexible enough, if we approve it tonight, it's flexible enough to merge into the Parks, Recs, and Trails Master Plan that has not yet been approved.
Yeah, in fact, I'm glad you made that point. This is really just a 30,000-foot level assessment of what the needs are today. We did incorporate some of the, let's say, early evaluations that have come from community meetings because they did coincide with what we've already seen in the field and place those as specific projects throughout. But yes, once the master plan is adopted, we definitely intend to revise this for the next fiscal year.
So we're taking care of some low-hanging fruit.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So we have a recommended action from staff. Is there a motion? Mr. Leesmeyer?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. August. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Denver. Councilmember August. Mayor Mann.
Aye.
Thank you.
Well
And it
done,
looks-
all.
Is there
Good
a
stuff.
Is there a second motion there?
Yes.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, please.
So motion to approve the 702,800 in expenditure appropriations.
I'll second that. Roll call vote.
I see
I'm
702.
sorry.
Is it 712?
712-800.
Okay, 712,
Oh,
800.
I'm sorry, there is a typo on the staff report, and
Okay.
very good catch. Thank you, City Manager.
Which one do you need, sir?
It's the 712.
All right.
Yes.
Motion
Thank
approved,
you.
$712,000, 800 expense.
Seconded by Mayor Mann. Roll call vote.
Councilmember August. Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Denver. Mayor Mann.
Aye.
Thank you.
City Attorney report.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Melching. Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, the only item we have is in your red folder. There's a draft of some upcoming special event summaries with some dates. And Community Services staff Robert Lennox will be bringing a staff report to you in September on the next items for Community Services. But we wanted to get this to you because we had a collaborative event with some community partners yesterday. That's the only update I have.
Excellent. Thank you very much. On to future agenda items. Anything from the council? Fantastic. Well done, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Lennox, for the CIP, and Commissioner Croy. We can't wait to see the master plan and fold it all together and keep this thing going. If there's no other business tonight, we are adjourned.